Hey guys, welcome back to Etheria Restart. I'm excited. We got the big patch notes that just dropped, the pre-release patch notes. Now there's some surprising stuff in here. What I'm going to do in this video is go through just the balance changes, being the buffs and nerfs. I think that's what everyone wants to know about. And then I will make another video going through a condensed TLDR version of the rest of this stuff, because I feel like there's a lot of things in here that if I just read it, you guys would be bored to death. One, because I suck at reading. Two, because a lot of this just it's just fluff. So I don't want to read it all. I want to go through, get you guys the buffs and nerfs, because they are the important thing to me at the moment. And once again, I'll get you a condensed version of the rest of the changes that are in these patch notes. But the first thing with buffs and nerfs is a general one across the board. Animus units ascended to 5 stars and 6 stars will each gain an additional 5 points to their base speed. I believe that means 5 points at 5 star, 5 points at 6 star. That's probably why in the trailer we saw Tiamat at 117 speed instead of 107 speed. So that is the first one. Now we get into the big one, which is the buffs and nerfs. So Chloros over here, this is ridiculous. Honestly, there's 2 changes in here that are crazy. Once we saw the theory crafting calculations based on single target damage and AoE damage in sustained fights, we saw Chloros absolutely destroying anyone else in the game in single target damage, and his damage got a buff. Like, he just got a straight number increase. So he's going to be doing even better in the guild boss at the end. Once again, that is kind of his niche. He's going to be the guild boss and the wolves. But, he's going to absolutely slap in those areas, because the red text is basically where we see changes. So the rest of the kit, I'm assuming, is remaining the same. Otherwise, they would have crossed something out or anything like that. So he's just getting a buff to his damage. Chloros, absolute monster damage dealer now. Then we have Veronica. Now, Veronica got a much needed, I want to call it a reversion. So deals 420% damage to a single enemy with an 80% chance to steal all of the target's buffs. That used to be 100, now it got reduced to 80, but because of the way accuracy and resistance works, we can still make that as reliable as possible. Then has a 100% chance to spread all her buffs. The RNG on the buff spread was just the dumbest thing, and it made her feel really, really bad. So, it's just like, boom, we get a spread of the buffs, and it's now no longer calculated individually for each buff because it's 100% chance, so there's no calculation needed. So Veronica, guaranteed spread is what she had. I think she's back to being a really strong unit based on that, especially for real-time arena. Now we have Mia. Mia is the healer girl, not to be confused with Mio, who is the new freezing girl. Now, her skill 2 had its cooldown reduced from 5 to 4, so that's going to make her a bit more efficient with stripping buffs. Really nice. It's a bit more on par with what you would expect. And then her skill 3 has had an increase to its healing. So little buff for Mia. I still think Mia is great in general. Just not the type of healer that I want when we get Sanya for Doki, and then we get Ling Luo for Aurora. I feel like I don't need to build Mia on an account straight away, but definitely when I do eventually build her, if I get her, it's a nice buff to have for her. So she's definitely a great character anyway. The next one, Jada. Now, Jada was topping the damage charts in AoE damage, and as you can see over here, with her skill 3, it's her AoE with the defense break, and each time her flames evolve, she's going to do an additional instance of damage, and that damage has increased from 80% to 90%. So we just got a damage boost on what's mathing out to be the best single target damage dealer and the best AoE damage dealer, being Chloros and now Jada as well. So she's going to be a monster for dealing AoE damage the way she already is. Tiamat. I don't know why they put this in green numbers, probably because it's HP related, but it's a nerf. So Tiamat, my girl, got a little nerf. I still think she's fantastic. I don't think this is going to ruin her at all. I was worried about bigger nerfs coming to Tiamat because I don't think she's broken. I just think she's comfortable to play. So she did get a little bit a little nerf, but it's not the end of the world. Upon reaching 8 stacks when she transforms, she's going to recover 10% instead of 30% of her max HP and immediately gain that extra turn. So functionally, it's still the same. She's just going to heal less with it. So if she's really low when she procs, she's going to be dealing less damage because she won't be back up as high HP as she could be. And then each stack of Bloodbath increases healing received by 3% instead of 4%. Now, this is a bit of a noticeable difference, but not the end of the world once again. I think it's pretty balanced changes. I'm not too disappointed about that. Everything else stays the same. I was concerned they were going to functionally change her. They haven't, so I'm pretty happy with that. Next up, we have Rahu. Now, Rahu being another great damage dealer already and supportive type character, his skill 1 is getting a damage boost up to 350%. His passive effect, each stack increases his defense up to by 5%, not 4% now. So it's a buff to his defense and he's stacking there. And then at 8 stacks for every 4% def, higher than the target, his basic attack damage output is increased by 1% up to a maximum of 40%. So just some raw damage and also survivability increases for Rahu. Not bad. He's already a great character, just getting even better. Next up, we have Ling Luo. I like this change on Ling Luo. Before each heal has a 75% chance to purify, and if there is no debuffs on them, it has a 75% chance to apply Wail Prayer. That's just a nice little boost because you can't really increase those chances. So going to 75, I think that's a nice little chance increase because there's no real reliable cleansers in the game. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that one on Ling Luo. It's just a nice little buff to a character that everyone is going to get and probably everyone is going to use. Rosa got a little bit of a nerf to the pushback on her basic attack from 10% down to 8%. She's still going to be an absolute great unit. Anyway, that's not going to cripple her by any means. It's not too much of a big deal in my opinion. Born got a damage increase and a damage increase. So his passive, this is a damage increase. This is a survivability and damage. So at the start of battle, increases HP cap by amount equal to 560% now of his attack. So it not only helps his damage, but it also is going to help his survivability as well. And then we just got a damage increase on this one as well for his skill 3. Then we have Lilith, not to be confused with my girl Lily. Lilith over here deals damage to all enemies equal to 24% of her maximum HP with 100%. Yeah, so we're just getting a little bit more damage. Lilith, it's never really been about the damage. She's more about the control aspect of the game. So that's not really going to make her like more viable, I don't think. I think she's still going to be as viable as she was in the places that she is. So not too much of a crazy change there. Then we get onto Kloss. Now, Kloss has been redesigned is what I consider this. So she used to, on her unique debuff, it used to have its own independent speed slow for enemies that could stack with the general speed slow debuff. So what they've done is they've removed her unique speed slow from her passive debuff, her unique debuff that she gives, and they've added speed down, the general speed debuff, to her skill 3. So now her skill 3 is going to apply the defense down and speed down along with her hacking. So they basically shifted the speed decrease from being a unique one that only she can apply to just being the general one, and it's tied into her skill 3. So I did think it was kind of crazy that she could put additional speed decreases on top of the general speed decrease. Like, that speed manipulation became insane. So that doesn't surprise me that they did it, but it's just a bit of a rework. If you never had a speed reducer on your team, well, it's kind of a really nice effect as well, because now you can get the proper speed debuff. May have a little bit less uptime on it than her hacking one, because all of her skills could apply hacking. So, you know, it's just, to me, it's not like a nerf. It's just like an adjustment to the way she works. But it is a nerf to max potential and speed decreasing. Then we have Freya. Dream with passive, each time an enemy is inflicted with a debuff, there is a 70% chance to push back its turn meter by 4%, triggering up to 3 times per battle. I don't know what that chance used to be. Yeah, I'd have to check. Unfortunately, they didn't put what it was and what it is now. So that is the change there. I'm not sure if... I really don't know what it used to be. You know what? I could just pull up the game, which is going to look funny for you guys because it's not optimized. But let's... my screen resolution isn't right. But let's go here, Freya, and let's take a look at her passive here. You guys can't really see it. Each time an enemy is inflicted with a debuff, reduces their turn meter. Okay, so now it is a chance-based instead of guaranteed is the way I understand that. Apologies if I got that wrong, but it looks like it's no longer just guaranteed. It's now a chance. So it looks like a Freya nerf. Let me know if I'm wrong on that one. I'll correct it in the pinned comments if I'm wrong. Turandot. Her skill 2. Now, okay, so basically her skill 2 hits 4 times, and it used to be able to reduce by 30% instead of 25, which made her be able to do like 120% gauge reduction. Now she's just maxes out at 100%. So that's just something that made sense to me. I thought it was weird that she could reduce by more than 100%. Illusion reality. Is this the healer Chiaki? Deals damage to a single enemy and heals the 2 allies. Okay, so she's gotten healing numbers buffed across the board. So the red Chiaki is getting healing buffs across the board is what the looks of it, just raw number increases. Dinah, now Dinah is a very important debuffing unit for like speed clearing comps. So deals 240% damage to a single enemy with a 40% chance to steal turn meter by 15%. Okay, that's her skill 1. Skill 2, the passive. And increases the attacker's turn meter by down to 6%. Okay, honestly, this is not a bad nerf. Like, it's like a bit of a nerf for Dinah, but it's not nerfing her just raw damage amplification potential, which is where I thought they would nerf her. So that's not too bad. My man Kraken, skill 3, only a 65% chance to push back, and now only a 50% chance to apply the freeze. So you just need more accuracy on him. Here's the gist. So he can still reach the same limits as he used to, but he needs more accuracy. Now, obviously, buffing the free freeze unit to promote the paid freeze. Nerfing the SR to promote the SSR freeze unit is kind of what I'm saying there. Yeah, but that is Kraken. Honestly, he's still fine. Just needs more effect accuracy to be reliable. Sanya, this is the healing Sanya. So her healing got nerfed from 16% to 14% of her maximum HP on her passive, and the amplified healing has gotten reduced as well from 0.8% to 0.6%. Honestly, not too bad. She's still going to be an absolute monster of a unit for healing your team, especially in the early game. Forest Heart, skill 3. Fixed an issue where Sanya could still trigger passive healing while under... Dude, that's actually a massive nerf. I hadn't read that. That is a massive nerf to Sanya. This says if she is in an incapacitated state. That must be if she isn't in an incapacitated. So one of the big things about Sanya was even if she was controlled, she could heal passively. Now she can't. That is honestly a massive, massive nerf to her because that was one of her biggest things. That kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, that's going to make things like Doki really annoying. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Marvel. Everyone's one that they didn't want him to get nerfed. Okay. 40% chance to steal turn meter by 15% on the basic. Honestly, not the end of the world. Still pretty good. You can max this out to an 80% chance based on the formula. And, you know, honestly, when you're stealing by 25%, that was just ridiculous. Like that was a nutty ability even for an SSR. Like being able to steal 25% because that's a 50% shift. So that makes sense to me. Skill 3 deals damage. Okay. Okay, so they reduced the pushback by 40% and increased its cooldown by 1. That's not great for Marvel. That's kind of annoying. I think he's going to be wanted to play on Time Weave now to make up for that. Yeah, the skill cooldown's the big thing. Not this. This doesn't really matter. It's this that's really going to be the issue for him. So yeah, I think he's going to still be strong, but you'll probably want to play him on Time Weave. And it's funny because I think the devs saw that PvE was where he kind of demolished. And so they didn't really buff him too bad, nerf him too bad in PvP. It's more his PvE functionality that did get nerfed. So I think they saw that. Victor, big nerf. I'll have to get the guys at Pridewind to run calcs on this to find out how much of a nerf it is to Victor. They'll probably update their damage charts, but that feels like a big nerf to Victor. For every 10%, yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's a big nerf to his damage potential, but we'll have to wait and see how much that actually is. Fixed an issue where Puppet Fury could stack multiple shields. Dude, I thought that was a thing. Yeah, okay. No longer stackable. Dorothy, fixed an issue where this skill was not being cast during auto battle. Okay, that's cool. Number 41. Okay, the gauge, honestly, the gauge boost was pretty big for 41. I thought it was kind of balanced because she had the lower base speed, but they have reduced the gauge boost from 35 to 20. She is the rare unit. Shell specific adjustments. Okay, White Fang getting a damage decrease. White Fang was kind of cracked. Like the damage it deals is nuts. I think it's still going to be strong. Probably still one of the strongest one for DPS, depending on, there are some other ones that are good. good, but I still think it's going to be strong enough. I think that's a fair balance there. Artisan, before the main body axe, it increases the defense. Yeah, it's reduced the shield. Dude, that shield is massive, especially if you're playing Rahu. It's like hard to get through. So that is the defense one, just reducing the amount of shield. Codex of Magic. Okay, this I mentioned this in a couple videos. Now this thing can no longer have its skill cooldown reduced. Okay. And neither can Amber. Those are two that I think shouldn't be able to have their cooldown reduced, so that makes sense. Halloween fixed an issue with incorrect actual trigger probability. Okay, not too sure. I'm assuming it remains at 80% trigger probability. I think it should just be 100, but that's me. Twilight Knight, I think we're getting into the lower rarity ones now. I can't remember the names exactly. Damage decrease there. Diamond Heart. Yeah, so these are like the lower rarity ones. This is like the lower rarity version of the White Fang and the lower rarity version one of the defense one. So they're just nerfing them to keep it in line. And that is it for the buffs and nerfs across the board. Once again, I'll get you guys a TLDR of the rest of the changes. But in general, I feel like it hasn't been complete. I think the biggest nerf is, to me personally, is that now you can no longer cleanse while stunned with Sanya. I think that's the biggest one that's going to affect me. Besides that, nothing was too crippling, I don't think. Still think it's crazy that they buffed the two characters that math out to be the strongest single target and AoE DPS. It's kind of funny to me, but hey, let me know what you guys think. I'll do you guys an updated video on my plans now that we know where everything is going to sit. I'm pretty concrete on what I'm going to be doing, re-rolling, selector, and stuff like that. But anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.